Hello, Internet. Thank you once again for joining me to talk all things vertical drama. I'm very happy because I found another willing participant, because I promise you these people are willing. They're not here by force to talk vertical dramas and also kind of their life and times. And that is the wonderful actor, Jason Caceres, who, if you watch vertical dramas, you will recognise because he has been in a lot. He's always the one I'm like, it's Jason again. And he pops up here, there, and everywhere. And he's actually one of my favourite, I guess, supporting artists, would you say? Do you
I
call
would I would
yourself
say,
supporting
yeah,
artist?
supporting
Yeah,
cast member. Oh,
yeah.
that's very
You
sweet.
actually,
Thank you.
I think often you have more fun. You get better stuff to do. I think you get to lean into the vertical drama madness even more. So, first of all, I'm going to ask Jason if he can tell us a little bit about himself, where he grew up. Was he a city boy? Was he a country boy?
So I definitely grew up a city boy with country boy activities. And what I mean by that is I grew up in Miami, Florida, which is a pretty major city. But my parents were a huge fan of extracurricular activities. So they signed my brother and I up to be Boy Scouts from, I believe I was 5 or 6. So I grew up in the city, but also escaping out to the Everglades, because that's the country in Florida,
Yeah.
which is basically swampland, to do like fishing, camping, um, all the outdoor knot tying, uh, chopping down wood and building forts. It was a little intense. Um, I did that for about 10 years. And that's actually how I found acting, because the Boy Scouts of America have a skit portion for their competitions
Yeah.
where you have to develop like a fun, campy, original skit and compete with other troops and see which one had the funniest or which one was the most dramatic. And that's kind of how I first found acting. Um, yeah.
So, first of all, I think we've established you are an incredibly useful person to know because you have survival skills.
I did win second place in the archery contest for all of Florida in the Boy Scouts. So,
No.
don't
Right.
mean to
Okay.
brag, but you've got a little Katniss Everdeen right in front of you.
That's amazing. Right. Okay. And also, zombie apocalypse, follow Jason because knots, camping, survival, and also archery. Good man to
I
know.
should say it has been prob over a decade since I've done any of these activities, so I hesitate to say that I am still pretty well qualified,
It'll be like riding a bike. You'll come back. It'll be fine. So,
which
yeah.
I also haven't done in over a decade.
Sounds
There's
good.
not a lot of bike riding out here in Los Angeles.
I have to ask about the archery. Were you doing the kind of the full bows that when you watch it on Olympics, it's really huge, or was it a much simpler setup?
It's the whole like shebang, the whole like we
Wow.
had the mechanical bows, so it was a little
Yeah.
harder to pull back as a child. But we did the whole shebang. We had to do like the manual ones, we did mechanical. It was a whole contest, and I won second place in all of Florida.
Do you get like a prize for that or a cup or what's the kind
It's
of beyond
a little
obviously?
trophy that I think my parents still have, but there's because once a year the Boy Scouts have a jamboree, I believe it was
Mm.
called, if I remember. Wow, I'm getting flashbacks. And all the Boy Scout troops of Florida met up in Ocala, which is like this tiny
Mm.
little like, country town, I would say, in Florida. And it's a week-long competition. And there's horseback riding, archery, knot tying contests. You had to build like a fort out of wood with your troop. Cooking contest. There was the skit contest. Basically, a way to show off all the skills you've learned throughout the year in your Boy Scout troop.
Yeah. I love that. So you said the skit contest was where performance started coming in for you. Um, Within that, what was your role? Were you writing? Were you acting? Kind of what was the bit you were drawn to?
I was actually writing and acting in it, but because I was so prone to that artistic side, the troupe decided to put me in charge of like writing and developing the skits. Mind you,
Mm.
I'm like 8 or 9, so these skits were not great.
Yeah.
They were very silly. They were a child's imagination, basically.
Mm.
But they put me in charge because all the other boys in my troupe were more like, we want to knot tie and build tents. I'm like, that sounds fun. You do that. I want to perform. So they put me in charge of like the writing and development. And then obviously I would cast myself in it because I wanted all the glory.
Why
But
not?
we never won a skit competition.
Oh
So
no.
maybe I'm not as good at writing as I am at archery.
Oh, it could have maybe you just let down by the team around you, you know.
Let's go with
Blame
that.
blame them. It's fine. It's like I was a
Yes,
star here. Like,
it was everybody else in the troupe. It wasn't me.
so when did you go from that to obviously where you are now, which is you're pursuing it as a career? How did that happen?
So I graduated high school, and I mean, as we all know, the minute you graduate high school, you have to decide what you want to do with the rest of your future right away. If not, your whole life falls apart into shambles, which is a lot of pressure we put on 18-year-olds, let me just say. I did not know what I wanted to pursue because everyone's like, well, you have to go to college, you have to pick a career, you have to pick something that makes money. So I went to college in Miami, Florida. In my first semester, I had actually signed up for a political science major. I was like, well, you can't make money as an actor, but you can make money in political science, which is not the case. Um, Hated it. Uh, then I tried biology, hated it. Even though I was pretty good at science, but it's not something I wanted to pursue for the rest of my life. Then did a little bit of soul searching. I was like, you know what? I like performing and I like theater and I like the arts. It's fine if I'm not a millionaire by the time I'm 30. I'm just going to do what I love because you only get one life. Why not pursue something that actually makes you happy? And this is, of course, I'm a child of immigrants. So seeing my parents pursue something they were not passionate about to help build a better life for myself and my brother, and my aunts and uncles all did the same thing. I didn't want their sacrifice to go to waste. So I wanted to do something that I knew was going to make me happy, which in turn would make them happy because they gave up so much so that I could do that. Um, so it was like, I'm just going to study theater. Political science didn't work out, biology didn't work out. So I studied theater, got a BFA in theater performance, and then moved out to Los Angeles. The
Oh,
rest is history.
I love that. Also, I think your parents are amazing because I know sometimes there can be
Oh,
a pressure of like
yeah.
the happiness is, but we want you to have the secure job and the income.
Yeah, I
It's
think
an
I think what
understandable
I mean,
thing from parents. So it's always amazing when you get parents who are like, we want you to have the happiness. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
I
what's
think
actually going to make
the
us most
major
fulfilled.
difference, because it is quite common where parents discourage their kids from pursuing the arts because
Mm,
the reality is there's no money in it,
yeah.
to be quite frank. But I think the major difference is my parents, they're Cuban, having
Mm,
come from a country that took everything away from them,
mm,
they were kind of already used to not having money.
yeah,
So why not just be happy and do something you love, um, as opposed to sacrificing your life in a 9 to 5 that you're going to hate every day? Because
yeah,
I love my father, but that's what he does
mm,
because he had no choice. He needed to provide for us.
yeah.
Um, and it honestly makes him happy to see that I'm doing something that makes me happy. And my parents have flown out just to see me in a play in Los Angeles. It's a
I,
6 hour flight. And they're like, you're going to be
oh,
in a play? Mind you, theater in Los Angeles does not pay very well. So I'm like, you don't have to come to this. It's like a little
yeah.
99 seat equity theater performance. They still fly out at least
Okay, so
once per performance.
your parents are the best. Okay. We adore your parents. I think we've established that. Your parents are amazing. And I love that. I love that they come to cheer you on. So we've got you in the life story of you so far. We've got you to LA.
Yes.
Um, what sort of roles, what year was that when you got there?
Oh, God.
Sorry. I know you might
Don't
not
do
want
the
to reveal
math.
to the internet.
It was 2013. Don't do the math.
2013. Okay. Because basically what it means, I basically just the context of, okay, so you obviously had a period of work before all the kind of COVID, writers' strikes, fires, kind of horribleness.
Yes.
So, what sort of work were you finding kind of initially? Because obviously you mentioned theatre. What other stuff were you kind of doing? What roles did you enjoy?
When I first moved out here, there was a boom in like the YouTube webisode era. So a lot of these YouTube influencers were creating their own web series. And one of the first roles I booked, not the first, because the first role I booked was a music video for a queer artist named Steve Grand. And I played his younger version. Mind you, we're the same age, which was amazing. Um, so I played his younger version in a music video. But shortly after that, I was cast in a web series for Ava Gutowski. She had a YouTube channel called My Life as Ava, and she created a web series about her life in high school. And I played her gay best friend, Juan,
Oh,
which is how I initially gained a lot of my following. She has, I haven't checked on her in a while, but back then I believe she had about 4 or 5 million subscribers on YouTube. I'm
mm,
sure it's doubled in size by now. So that was one of the first roles I booked. Shortly after that, I got my first network role, which was very exciting. It's on CBS called Criminal Minds. I played Jimmy Bennett
mm,
on episode 21 of season 11. Yeah, that sounds right. It was a while ago.
yeah.
Um, so I slowly started piecing together all of these roles to build the semi career that I have now.
Mm,
Um, then it kind of fell into playing a lot of queer characters, which I don't know if it was by accident or by design
mhm,
at this point, because every time there was a queer role or a queer show or a queer movie, it was like, I want to do that. I want to show up as myself. I want to. There's this stigma still, unfortunately, where a lot of actors, a lot of queer actors, steer away from queer roles because they don't want to be boxed in or categorized as such. I'm
mm,
the opposite. I want to play all of the queer characters. I think representation is important. It's
mm,
unfortunately dying out. So I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of the queer shows don't get renewed for a second season or they're
mm.
canceled halfway through. So it may seem like there's a lot of representation right now, but there actually is not. There's a
I
few
would
like,
agree. Not compared to
yeah,
like even 10 years ago. Yeah.
no, not at all. We had
Mm,
seen it looked for a second like there was going to be like, this is going to be mainstream and normal and we're elevating queer culture and then it
mm,
kind of disappeared and we have a few standouts every once
mm,
in a while with like Heartbreaker or Boots that just came out on Netflix.
mm,
But it's not as, I guess, persistent as it used to be, and I
mm.
think the verticals are actually helping out, greatly. There's a lot of queer representation coming out. But anyway, I leaned into the whole queerness of my career, and
Mm.
I believe I have, oh god, I think half of my IMDb is queer roles at this point. I think
Oh,
I
I love
strayed away from your question.
No, no, no. It was perfect. You answered. It was basically what were your favourite roles, and I think you've explained brilliantly what you really enjoyed and the ones that stood out for you. So I would say like A star. Perfect answer.
Oh, great.
Um,
Great. Sometimes I
so
ramble and I forget, I'm like, "Did I answer that question?"
oh, it's so good. Just have faith in yourself. So obviously we have to go to verticals because vertical drama love. So I have to get that at some
Yes.
point. Um, I guess what I think is always useful because I think people are still like, obviously the thing about this industry is we know there's good things and bad things, but partly just it provides work. That was the thing I picked up fairly early on. As soon as people started messaging me, were like, "But I'm working. I'm on a set and I'm working." Was that how you discovered verticals as kind of someone who'd already been working regularly? Kind of how had the kind
Yeah.
of landscape gone on amount of jobs, and when was it like actually verticals is where there is at least consistent work?
So they kind of snuck up on me a little bit. They are consistent, which is great. I'm very fortunate to have always had somewhat consistent work since I moved out here, but I'm also a hustler. Um, I'm sure I'm sure you've interviewed people and you've heard them talk about Actors Access and casting networks. So
Mm,
there's these sites that actors use um, to self-submit is what we call it, where
mm,
we look for auditions on our own without our
mm,
reps. because I do have reps. I have an agent and a manager, but they're in charge of booking and looking for the bigger projects
Mm,
that are on like the network shows, the big budget stuff. Um, However, I like to stay busy.
mm,
So I self-submit for smaller projects all the time, which is why I've been so consistently able to work.
mm,
So going back to these casting sites, there are these membership type websites where they charge actors a fee, of course, to have access to these
mm,
auditions. I have checked every day for the past 12, 13 years, 6 different websites that I'm a member of, searching for projects that are looking for actors.
mm,
Um, because in my brain, I know a bunch of actors who, the minute they get representation, they stop doing this and they're like, I'm going to let my agent handle it.
mm,
However, your agent only makes 10% of your paycheck. So if they only make 10%, then I like to assume they're only doing 10% of the work. I got to be in charge of the other 90 because if they're
mm.
out there, there's thousands of actors in Los Angeles. If you're just waiting around for your agent to find you work, you're not helping them because what do they have to show these network casting directors? Like, oh, here's Jason. I rep Jason, and I think he'd be perfect for the role. They're gonna come back with, okay, great. What has he done? Send me his stuff. Send me his reel. Like, oh no, he's just waiting by the phone for you to say yes. That's like, you're not really being helpful towards your own career. You're not helping the people who represent you. So
Yeah.
I took it upon myself to keep myself as busy as possible,
Mm,
whether it was like a student film that paid $50. I mean, it's either that or staying at home waiting by the phone. Um, so this is how I accidentally fell into the verticals because I was self-submitting. Um, and back then on Actors Access, they had categories of like television show, film,
mm,
stage play, and these were listed. There wasn't a vertical category yet. These
mm,
were listed as mobisodes.
mhm.
And I was like, okay, well, I've done mobisodes because in my brain, I was like, those are the YouTube web series or the, you know, Instagram web series or TikTok web series, wherever
Yeah.
these web series were popping up. So I applied. The first one I booked was called, I'm not sure if you've seen this one. It's called The Return with Brooke Moultrum. It was back in 2023, so it was a while ago. And I had a small little role as a photographer. And I
Mm,
showed up on set, and I remember texting my partner, and I was like, it's so weird. They have the camera on its side. It's like, I don't know what's happening, but they're filming all of this sideways. And then I was confused. So I was asking Brooke, who I met that day. She was very
yeah.
friendly, very, I hesitate to say flamboyant because it means something different nowadays, but that's like, she was flamboyant. She was
Mm,
energetic. So I was asking her what these were. And The Return was her second vertical
yeah.
as a female lead.
Mm,
Because the first one was she played some sort of witch. She was I I don't remember what it was. It was a while ago. Um, and she was like, "Oh, these are vertical soap operas for your phone." I was like, "Huh." Like for TikTok, she's like, "No, no, they have like their own apps. They're a minute long episodes. There's about like 50 to 70 episodes depending on the project, and
mm,
they're they're soap operas." I was like, "Ah, okay." And then I kept applying for them, and I started booking more and more, and I'm like, "These are very campy and very quick." Which is
mm,
one of the things that drew me to them initially was that if I had like a small bit part or because I started having small parts at first, I was
yeah.
in and out within 3 to 4 hours on set and I got a full day's pay.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I was happy and was like, I'm going to keep doing these because I don't have to be there for that long. That has since changed. Now I'm there for 12 hours, which is fine because that means bigger roles, but also more time.
I just
So
mean, I guess just diary wise, you can fit more projects in, can't you? You can just load your diary in if you know it's in and out. Next project, next,
yes,
next, next. Yeah.
yes, exactly. Which is why some of us supporting cast members rack so many of these verticals up much quicker than the leads do because
Mm,
the lead males and females are there for 7 to 11 days, sometimes 12-hour days, and they have to be there the entirety of the project.
mhm.
As a supporting cast member, I'm there maybe 2 days, 3 days. I can hop on another one, another 2 days. And so by the time they've done one, I've done four,
Yeah.
which is how I'm up to 72 verticals now. I just wrapped the 72nd one and I'm starting the 73rd one on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday. So
Is there like a moment where you've done 50? I feel like there should be, I don't know, going back to the Boy Scouts, like at least a little badge or something, or a sticker or some sort of
right,
long
right.
service award. I've done
I think
50.
the badge is just the ability to stay employed. Like, I will take that badge. But yeah, I don't know how it got to this point. I
Mm,
just started slowly doing, because I'm kind of the type of person that like a project is over, I got to find my next job. Um, because I don't want to wait tables. I did it for a week when I first moved out here when I was like 20, or I forget how old I was. It is hard work. Tip your servers, tip your waiters, because it is, especially in the States, because I know in London they actually get a living wage.
yeah.
If
I
you're in the
have to
States, definitely tip your servers.
I have to ask actually, sorry, this is a weird side quest. Is it as much in the States as it is in London now? There's a lot of sketches about the having to ask, have you any allergies? Have you any allergies? Is it like that in the States?
No, no, which I just got back from London for a week, as you know, with my family. And every single place we went to eat at, they were like, "Are you allergic to anything? Any allergies? Any allergies?" And my dad was like, "Oh my God, they they're really on it." It's like, that's good because you could accidentally serve someone something that they're anaphylactic over
Yeah.
and die. They don't do that in the States. They're kind of like, "What do you
Yeah,
want?
no,
Great, you're
I
on your
think it's
own."
come in sort of the last 6 months, but yeah, it's provided quite a lot of sketch material online of
I bet.
the waiter going,
I bet.
allergies, tell us. So yeah.
That, and I've also seen a lot of sketches about the plastic tops on the water bottles that don't fully come off.
Oh, yeah.
That's not a thing here. We don't have that.
I was when I was in New York, I bought a bottle just for that. I was like, top
To
comes
have
off. You
the
don't
top off.
understand how much value this has to me. It's like,
That was also something we had to get used to. We're like, my parents were like trying to remove it. And I'm like, no, no, it doesn't come off. It's like a recycling thing, right?
yeah.
To reduce waste.
It's one of those things of reduced stress, but it makes it darn annoying to try and drink your water. That's kind of.
Yeah, it's like you have the top always like right here as you're drinking. It's very uncomfortable.
um, I have to ask, just as a comparison, so as someone who had worked on web series and then verticals, kind of, are there similarities?
Um, y yes, there are similarities in I would say the scale. They seem to be kind of like similar in scale, where like
Mm,
there is still a full crew, but it's not a network crew and it's not a student film crew. It's somewhere in between. So I would say they're kind of in the similar tier of production value. Um,
mm,
the difference being the webisodes when I was doing them uh, ran a bit more closely like a network show schedule wise,
mm,
meaning if one episode was like 12 pages, it was shot maybe in over 2 or 3 days. There was time, you had
mm,
several different angles. There was an attempt to make them a bit more film like and cinematic and fit for television. Whereas the verticals understand they're their own medium
mm,
and they're not like regular television. They're not like regular films. The pace is much faster. If it's a 12-page day, you have 12 hours to shoot all 12 pages. An hour per page is wild because that includes setup time. It's not even a 12-hour day, actually, because if you start at 8 and you wrap at 8, everyone's getting there at 8. They're still setting up. You probably have the first shot up at 9:30, 10 if you're
mm.
on track to make the day. Then that gives you, because you also have to have an hour of wrap out time at the end of the day. So you probably have nine, 8.5 hours to shoot 12 pages, which is about
Yeah.
30 minutes a page, give or take.
Mm.
Um, and you don't have any more time. You have to get it done, which means you have to set up the lights, you have to set up the camera. You get 1 or 2 takes per scene at
Mm.
most, because you have to do the wide shot, you have to get a close up, you have to do. So there's a lot more. I liken it to like it's the factory job of the entertainment industry, kind of, where like it's steady work. You go in, you know the product you're making, you have a certain amount of time to make it, you're done, you move on to the next. Whereas webisodes or television shows or films can be a bit more precious
Mm-hmm.
with their scene work. These kind of you have to like in and out. You have to go, which is why they lend themselves to be a bit more campy, a bit more broad. Um, they're a fun time. I wish the pacing was a little slower.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, just to let, I guess, just to let stuff breathe a little bit more. Just give you a bit
Yeah,
more
let's
time to just
breathe.
play around a bit and find the exact right delivery or
Yes,
shot. Or, yeah.
the exact tone, the character that you're developing, because all of that has to be done sometimes the night before.
Mm.
I've been cast in verticals before at like 11 p.m. at night. I'll get a call from casting and be like, "Are you available tomorrow for this small supporting role for this whatever?" And I'm like, yeah, sure. Great. We'll see you at 6 a.m." Like, okay, that's in 7 hours. What is my character? What are the lines? Do I have a script? So
Yeah.
there's a quickness about them
Mm.
that is also new,
Yeah, I can see it.
if that makes
So
sense.
with the kind of roles that you get, how much notes are you given, and how much context are you given to like the whole script? Because imagine if you're like, say, leads are filming one project and you're saying I might be doing 4 projects within that. How do you manage that? Because presumably you're trying to very quickly grasp what the script is, grasp what the tone is, and grasp what you're doing. Like what are your
Yeah.
secrets to kind of picking that up as quick as possible?
So this is gonna sound absolutely horrible. I have only had the opportunity to read maybe 2 of the scripts out of the 72 I've done, completely from beginning to end. Maybe just 2. And that's mainly because the pace is quick, as I was saying earlier, but
Mm.
also a lot of the apps are now not releasing their full script to anybody aside
Oh,
from the leads. So if you're a
interesting.
supporting character, sometimes I just get the sides for the
Mm.
day. So I don't know what else is happening because I haven't read the script. I'm not granted access a lot of the
Yeah.
times, mainly because the pace is very quick and they have to keep moving.
Mm.
Um, so my strategy is, you know what? If this were real life and this character were actually living this, I wouldn't know what's happening in the other scenes anyway.
I like it.
So I'm gonna show up. I'm gonna
Mm.
know my lines because I don't know if it's my theater training, but my one thing is actors need to be off book when they arrive. And
Hmm.
that probably comes from the theater. Um, so I'm gonna know my lines. I'm gonna know what my character's doing, and I'm just gonna react naturally to everything happening around me because I really don't know. So some of the reactions you see are me hearing this information for the first time where I'm like, "What? She's pregnant with her she's pregnant with her stepbrother's child? What is happening?" So a lot of the times the reactions are, especially if they use the first or second take,
Yeah.
because I've seen a lot of the clips back that I've shot and my character looks confused a lot of the time. That's me actually being confused. I'm like, what, what? So in
I
my
love
brain, I shouldn't know what's going on in the other scenes. It makes the reaction so much more natural.
it. But I've always had a theory that that kind of, yeah, when you're acting that kind of, I guess, that kind of character who's, I always think it's a bit like the Greek chorus, and
Yes.
you're kind of slightly doing the reactions for the audience of going, what's going on? Whether it were a gala or an auction or a whatever, or the
Hmm.
school, it's kind of that's the role, isn't it? That you do that big reaction for the
Yeah.
audience.
Yeah. And the one note to answer your question about notes, the one note that I hear often on set is uh bigger, louder, more. Um I get so a lot of the times I do get cast as like the queer character in these
Mm,
the queer side character in these characters, like the lead girl's best friend or
yeah.
the lead guy's assistant. Um I try to queer up all of my characters because representation matters. Sometimes they let me get away with it,
Mm,
but a lot of the times the note I get, and they kind of tiptoe around it because they want the side characters to be big and bold, and you know, we're kind of like either the comedic relief or the terrifying ones, or the because
mm,
the leads have. I don't want to say that sometimes they're a bit monotonous, but they have to. They're the straight person in the show.
mm,
They
yeah.
have a storyline that they have to carry from point A to point B, while the characters around them are the campy big obstacles that they have to navigate.
Hmm.
So the one note I get, and it's really funny because sometimes they'll tiptoe around it because nobody wants to be offensive, is can you can you make him more, like fabulous, like for, and I was like, gayer? They're like, no, that's not what I said. Like you can say gayer. You can tell, like I'm okay with it. You're the director, just
Yeah.
be like, make him more gay. I actually love that because let's do it. Let's make him gay as hell. We need representation. So I always find it funny when they tiptoe around that note and I just cut it off and I'm like, you want gay? Is that what you want? We can do that.
We can do that. So, I imagine this is the challenge then. When you do that many verticals and you're in and out that much, what roles stick with you? So, like, what would make a role stand out and go, I really enjoyed that one. I remember a bit more about that project.
So the ones that stick out to me the most are the ones where I've the ones where I've played the villain stick out a little bit more because what they make the villains do is so wild. So wild. The first time I played like a villain, um, the working title was The Godfather and the Virgin on Real Short. I
Hmm.
forget if the title's changed or not, because sometimes they change the title after we've shot it and they don't really let us know what it was. Um, but I'm not sure if you watched it. It was a mafia one. Alexa Reddy was the lead girl. Nico was the lead male. It was an interactive mafia one called The Godfather and the Virgin.
I think I did. It was, yeah, I did. This is the problem. They all merged for me as well, which is terrible.
I get it completely. After 72, I'm like, what was that one? Um, but that one stuck out to me because I played the lead villain Marco, who is like straight tough guy mafia bro. And my first line, first of the day, to poor Alexa Reddy, um, I still can't even say it out loud. It was, I'm gonna eat that P word for dinner tonight. I was like, oh my God, we can say this on an
Oh,
app?
yeah.
And I was like, okay, so I'm gonna let her know
Mm,
that I'm pretty queer, so she feels comfortable. Because it's really gross to show up, like she doesn't know who I am, and like to be told the first
yeah.
day on set in your ear by a man you don't know.
Mm,
So I was like, girl, I don't know how we're gonna do this, but we're gonna get it done. So that stuck with me just because it was so out of
out there.
character.
Yeah.
Roles like that. I also just wrapped a few weeks ago another villain role on a vertical called Not Your Daughter Tonight. I'm not sure if the title will change, but it's with Travis Deslauriers and
Yeah.
Emily Gately.
Hmm.
So I play the lead villain in that, Adrian. And spoiler alert, I say this? I don't know if I can say this.
Go for it.
Spoiler alert. My character ends up tying Emily's character up to a cross and then cuts a baby out of her stomach. It's wild.
Wow. Yeah.
So those roles kind of like are the ones that stick out in my brain. The majority of the roles I'm playing like the gay assistant or, the
Yeah.
sassy friend or
One of the with those roles, kind of when you're doing the reaction shots, kind of is there an art to the reaction shot? Because I think there is. Because I think you're a master of them.
Oh, thank you. I don't know if it's an art, but I just lean into the absurdity of them because I've seen a lot of actors on set also. Sometimes a lot of the reactions are done out of the scene, if
Mm.
that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
they'll shoot the scene and then they'll come back for the close up and be like, "We're only doing reactions now." So the director will call out, "You're in shock, you're angry, you're upset," and they're just shooting the reactions. And I've seen a lot of actors not shy away from them, um, but they'll initially start out with, "You're shocked," and they're like, and the director will be like, "Do that again, but bigger." So like, the director's like, "Almost there." Well, so my brain, this is gonna sound horrible also, is my brain works in a way of, okay, how quickly can I go home? So
Mm.
if we're gonna do reactions, I'm gonna give them the biggest one on the first take, so I can go home and watch TV and play video games with my partner because I'm tired. I'm old and tired.
But then,
So I kind of
no, no, see, that's not. That's because you're a true pro. You're like, first one take Jason. First one.
yeah,
Nailed it.
and that's why a lot of them are super big and campy, and sometimes they look a little disjointed from the scene because it'll cut to a close up and it's a huge reaction, and that's me just
Mm.
being like, I'm gonna give them what they want, and then we're all gonna go home early, and everybody's gonna be happy.
I love that. I think that's brilliant. And I think they do stick with me. I can't remember which one it is. There's one where you're like a basically you get to stride around with a whip and a lot of little leather. I can't remember which one that was. And
My
you're
boss
just
thinks I'm a
hilarious in it. I
boy.
love that one so much.
That's my boss thinks I'm a boy. That's which was originally called The Amazing Secretary Riley.
Ah, that's it. Yeah.
And
But
then
you're fantastic in that one as well. And I was
thank
also like,
you.
bravo you for you
I-
fully go for the
that one stuck with me also. Um, because I don't know if I should say this either. Um, I was injured on that set pretty severely.
Oh
So
no.
that one that's the set where I had my nose broken, unfortunately. I'm not sure if you saw that on my social media. Um, but there was an accident.
Mm,
Accidents happen, but sometimes the pacing of these is so quick and
mhm,
safety is sacrificed.
mm.
And I took a punch to the face. So the punch you see in that show is somewhat real.
How is your nose now?
Luckily it's back in place. They
Yeah.
like so breaking it back into place hurt a lot more than having it broken in the first place.
Oh. But what
So
does your
it's
partner say? Because I could see that you might be like, okay, and then I would imagine you go home and the partner's like, what the heck has happened?
yes, yeah, he
I
has a
could
lot
see
of
him
opinions
being,
about frustration and mainly because he's a producer.
oh,
So
yeah.
we've worked together on a lot of non-vertical projects.
Mm,
He's produced the past two shows for OutTV that I was in also. Mind you,
mm.
I think it's very important to note he was not producing my shows before we started dating. So I did not start sleeping with the producer, and that's not how this happened.
On record.
We met outside of the industry.
Yeah.
just just to clarify.
Yeah.
Um, but there is a bit of frustration because he does come from a producing background. He's produced um let's call them horizontals for lack of a better word.
Mm. Yeah.
He's produced horizontals, so he has come from that world. And he does produce verticals now also. And I've worked with him on the verticals he's produced. And
Mm,
something like this is definitely on his radar. Um, and I don't want to say would not happen on his sets because accidents do happen. It's
mm.
part of the job, especially with stunt heavy projects like these verticals. Um, so there's just a little bit of frustration.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get caught up, cast and crew alike, we get caught up in the speed of it, and
Mm,
because everyone's exhausted. They're 12-hour days. We all want to wrap it up and go home. Um, but sometimes the situations we're put in are not exactly 100% safe. But
yeah.
again, part of the
Hopefully
part of the world.
it will sort of. do you feel that overall it's improving? That sort of,
Oh
as
yeah.
someone who's sort of been there since the early days, it
Oh
is
yeah.
at least going in the right direction. Yeah.
110%. The crew that's working on them now is much more, I don't want to say professional because I don't want to say that the earlier ones I worked with weren't
Mm.
experienced. Let's go with
Experience.
experience. The
Yeah.
crew that's
People have learned. Yeah.
yes.
Honed skills and improved things, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The crew's great. And I've seen a lot of people on set, um, producers, crew members, writers, actors all start um, sticking up for each other on set.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, which is great because when they started, there was this kind of like unregulated energy where everyone's
Uh-huh.
kind of trying to figure out this new space. What can we do? How do we do this? And now they're starting to work a bit more like Hollywood sets, and the grips work on network shows. The writers come from network shows. Also, the directors sometimes are DJ eligible directors. Um, so there's a lot more experience now on set.
Mm.
So they're getting better. The storylines are getting, I don't want to say more grounded because that's not true. But they're getting there's more variety basically, and there's more
That's
genre
probably the key,
variety.
isn't it? Yeah. There's definitely more
Yeah,
variety coming through.
there's more variety. So there's yes, they are getting better, long story short.
I feel like we ventured out beyond the billionaire CEO office or werewolf clan. I feel like for a long time that was pretty much all there was, and we've moved beyond that a bit more now. So yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we're seeing I mean, we saw a Squid Game kind of one with Game of Choice.
Yeah.
We're seeing much more than just the, like you said, billionaire CEO virgin surrogate,
Yeah.
um, which is great. We have queer ones now. The mafia genre has always kind of been around with these,
Yeah.
but there's more variety within that. Um, yeah, yeah, I'm excited for where they're going.
One of the things I wanted to ask about, and you've touched on it there, was obviously you mentioned about, we've talked about in more mainstream Hollywood, there really has been a drop in kind of queer representation and queer shows. And actually, that's something that oddly Verticals lent into, possibly that
Yes.
people didn't expect. In that, I mean, I think the first Vertical shot in the UK was basically a queer story, and obviously
Oh,
Good
no way.
Short. It was, yeah. Well, it's a mafia one as well. It's a bit of a cult classic, actually. It's got like its own fan page and everything. But
I know the one you're
obviously,
talking about.
yeah, that one. And then there's obviously Real Short have now brought, at least one out, and they've got more happening. And obviously Good Short have hit a bit of a patch of, the
Yeah.
stuff's gone viral on social media, and it's kind of made stars out of the leads. Um,
Mhm. I
is
will
that,
say props to Good Short because they are putting out at least one queer one a month. They're the ones that are kind of pioneering this queer genre.
yeah. Um, I guess, yeah. Have you seen them, and kind of what's your view? I mean, is it because I know there's that kind of argument about, have you actually got people writing these who understand culture? I've had some people say, are verticals the right? Are they ready? Because we know that vertical storytelling can be all over the place and problematic. So it's
Yes.
like, is it? Can they do it? Is it working? Is it better that they're at least doing something, even if they're not always getting it quite right? Guess what's your
I
opinion?
will say I'll give them props on because it is working. I'll give them props on doing queer storylines that don't center around trauma.
Mm,
Because what we see in mainstream media is every time there's a queer show or a queer movie, um, it's always about the characters living through consequences and through tragedies. So those stories are absolutely necessary, of course, because they are a part of queer culture. But not every queer person, thankfully, especially nowadays, I'm not going to say all of them, but not every queer person struggles with familial acceptance, struggles with tolerance, struggles with um, life threatening illness solely because of their identity. And
mm,
sometimes mainstream culture likes to focus on those because they're very dramatic, but then that kind of washes this brush over all of us of like,
mm,
this is all of our stories. Those stories exist and they are, of course, very crucial to the community and they need to be told. but queer people also experience joy and love and
Mm.
laughter. And sometimes we're very smart doctors, and sometimes we're very stupid, which I love playing those like clueless, ditzy queer characters. We're multifaceted, is what I'm
Mm.
saying. And I will give props to the Verticals for having, because every queer story I've seen on the Vertical is always campy, silly, fun, and lighthearted for the
Mm.
most part, and focuses on the romance in their lives and not the tragedy, which I love. Now, in the same breath, most of the queer verticals I have seen um, are all still a little straight coded.
Mhm.
I believe was it what was the I played Sebastian, a male escort in it. It was
Oh.
the queer mafia one on Good Short. There's sometimes a little element of cliche-ness, which is, I mean, it's all verticals. It's not just queer. But
Mm.
the scene where he's like, "What are you doing in the closet?" It's like, "I'm coming out of the closet." No, stay, hide in the closet. People are coming. Like, all right, well, we could have danced around that a little bit more creatively. Then I
Yeah.
saw another one where the two boys are in a hospital and the
Mm.
parents come in and are like, "What are you doing?" And the boy's like, "This is who I want to be with." And he leans down to propose and he goes, "Will you be my bride?" "Sorry, husband." And I'm like, I have never in my real life accidentally forgotten I'm gay and been like, "Will you be my girlfriend?" "Oh, sorry. Gosh dang it. This is so new to me. Will you be my boyfriend is what I meant." Which,
Yeah.
yeah, but I see the comedy in it, but there's still a little element of shame
Yeah.
attached to this kind of storytelling. Same with Straight Until He Kissed Me.
Mm.
Um, Great vertical. The acting is phenomenal. I love Greg Duffy. I've known him for years. He's a great guy. Um, but and I've seen this on social media. There's like an edit actually of this show where it's like, how many times did Evan say, "I'm not gay. I'm not gay. I'm not," and I think it was up to like in the 30s or 40s of the
Mm.
amount of times he said that in just one vertical. And
Yeah.
again, we're attaching a little bit of shame to it, to
Mm.
this identity, because he denies it so much. Like, it's fine if you deny it a few times in the early
Mm.
episodes and you're like, "Oh, wow, I'm experiencing new things," and,
Mm.
but this persistent need to attach shame and trauma to queer
Mm.
characters, I think is doing a disservice to the community. But they are progressing our storylines better than mainstream media is, because we are given more variety. And that's just the queer leads, because there's so many queer supporting cast members where there is no shame and they're just like, "Yes, honey, that dress looks fucking terrible on you. I'm gonna rip it off of you." It's like, okay.
Yeah.
The gay man could be sassy and a villain too, and he could be a romantic lead, and he could be
Mm.
just an assistant who there's no other qualifiers. He's just an assistant, which is perfect.
So what I'm taking from that is it's good that they're trying.
Hmm.
Always room for improvement, but
Yeah,
generally it is meaning that there is a wider breadth of, as you said, just stories and experiences being told and different ways of representing. So yeah. So
yeah, yeah,
we're
absolutely.
quietly hopeful and quietly positive. Would you say that's where our
We're quietly positive. You know what I want to see? I want to see a uh like lesbian sapphic mafia vertical, or like I wanted, because there's a lot of gay male representation in the
mm,
verticals. I haven't seen a lot of gay female representation. I know there's like one or two. I think Mariah Moss was telling me that she just played a sapphic vampire
yeah.
on Real Short, which is great. But I don't know if we've had it like,
There's one Ukrainian one which I think is doing quite well, but I think
okay,
mixed reactions from the community about how exactly it's telling that story, shall we say. So
hmm,
but at
fair.
least it's doing all right. So hopefully that means other people will then make them and then kind of improve the way the story's told. So
Yeah, and the only
yeah.
way we get to improve storylines is by trying it out. It's trial
Mm.
and error. So if these are not being made and we're not getting notes on them, then it'll never get to the point where we're 100%, we're never going to be 100% satisfied with anything because that's human nature, but where we're as close to 100% satisfied with them as
Yeah.
possible. So you've got to make the campy, weird, oops, we tripped over that. Maybe we shouldn't have done that. Maybe we
Yeah.
shouldn't have said that, because it gets you to the point of improvement where it's palatable.
I love that. I have to ask, given you have a background as an 8-year-old in writing as well as acting, are
Right.
you looking at writing? Is that something that tempts you, or are you very much performances where you enjoy and get your joy?
I think performance is pretty much it for me. I've worked as a producer a little bit, not on a vertical, um, but I've been like associate producer on a few projects. That does interest me more than
Mm.
writing does, um, especially if I get to produce my own projects in the future. But I did attempt writing. I took a writing class, and let's just say the Lord does not give with both hands. It
I get
was
that.
it was a struggle.
People have asked me if I'd ever write, and it's like, no, 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 no. No, that's not just something anyone can do. I'll write.
No, it's really hard. So props to all the writers out there. It's especially the vertical writers. There's such a nuance to writing these that is so different from every other kind of medium. Because you could be a great narrative television writer and then try to do a vertical and it fails completely. It's a completely different style than even stage work. It's props to writers. They have one of the hardest jobs because they're creating the world
Mm.
from their brains, from nothing. The rest of us actors, we have the words in front of us. We're given circumstances. We create a character based on the circumstances we're given. The director is given the script and sees it through his lens or her lens, but they have a script to work off of. The producers have a script to work off of where they're like, all right, scene 3, we need to figure out how to do this, how to set this dress on fire
Mm.
or whatever.
Yeah,
The writers are just, what do we create today?
I love that. Yeah, that's that. Also, now all the writers see Jason's done his bit for you. So this is your moment. Writers, what is the role
Please hire
Jason
me.
would love? Can we please? Jason's going to pitch it now, and now you will deliver.
I would love, and I don't think the verticals have entered this genre space yet. And if they have, then I haven't seen it yet because there's over 70 apps now. I would love a Ryan Murphy-esque queer thriller as a vertical. So something like Dahmer or Monster, if you saw the new season
Mm.
of Monster,
Mm.
the Ed Gein story, something like that, where it's like a sociopathic queer serial killer, but nobody knows it's him because he looks very innocent and
Well,
naive.
Jason, you've got innocent, haven't you? Yeah, I think you put
I don't know about
yourself
that.
into
Have you
that
seen
role.
my social media? But something that's kind of like a queer lead that's scary but sexy at the same time, and kind of like this quiet innocence that gets perverted somehow. And not like in like an X-rated way. I meant like
Mm.
perversion in the twisted, scary Halloween kind of way.
Because I think that's one of the interesting things, whether verticals go that way. Because at the moment, as you know, because you've played the baddies, like, and obviously your first line, as you just shared, we're in no doubt who the bad guys are in verticals.
Yes.
It's like immediately, this is the bad person, they're doing terrible things. And I'm really interested whether who's brave enough to go, you don't know who the person is who's doing the bad things, you have to find out. And that's the kind of thriller. And it'll be
Yes.
interesting when you finally do that. Because that does add in a lot more for the audience, but it's actually a really big step from where verticals are now.
Yeah, I actually think you hit on something uh, very important that differentiates verticals from mainstream media. And I heard a director say this, a vertical director say this on set too, is in verticals, you say what you mean and you mean what you say. So it's very clear. There's no subtext. Your character believes what they are saying. Where I think it would be interesting, as you mentioned, to not know who the bad guy is, or to have the villain be the protagonist, be the lead,
Mm.
and he's struggling with, or she's struggling with, should I, am I empathetic in this moment? Am I not? Do I actually want to do this? Do I not? Because in verticals, it's like, this is what I want to do, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to kidnap her, and I'm going to impregnate her with my seed, as they love saying on these. I know,
Makes me
I know,
go, "Ee."
I know.
Yeah.
So there's no subtext. I think
Yeah.
the next evolution would be characters who don't say what they mean
Uh,
and don't mean what they say.
I love that. Right. We also that's beautifully clippable, everyone. You'll be seeing that on social media. Attributed to Jason. Um, you've
Thank you,
just
thank
given
you.
me a few final questions because you've been so kind and spent so much time talking to me. Do you have a favourite line or two that you've got to deliver? Are there any that stay with you? Favourite mad lines
Oh
characters have had?
God. Um,
Don't worry if they don't, because I can quite imagine they've all gone and been replaced by new ones.
I have the memory of a turtle. The one that just came to mind was a vertical I just wrapped where I say, "Get rid of the baby, marry me." I'm like, oh my God, can she not keep the baby and you just accept her for who she is and you're off to your happy stepfather along the way? Um, that one was pretty wild.
That's quite wooing
Um,
for a vertical. That's romance, isn't it?
that is romance. Get rid of the baby, marry me. Like,
Oh,
okay, I struggled to say that one with a straight face, um, several times. So that's one line that that just popped out when you said that.
yeah.
There was also a vertical audition I did a few weeks ago, um, where my partner and I lost it while we were filming this audition because my character, it's the dialogue's pretty normal, and then halfway through the dialogue, my character says, "Okay, well, prove yourself. I'll sell you my sister's body to use." And I'm like, "Wait, what? What?"
Yeah.
And this is
Yeah.
no context because when we're
Like,
auditioning, we're not given the script. We're given 2 pages to read off of with no backstory.
well, the mind boggles, doesn't it? Oh, we need you to get that one just so we can find out what happens. So,
I don't think I booked that one.
so yeah. Um, just yeah, going forward, any upcoming projects? They don't have to be vertical, so horizontal
Uh,
ones. Anything you'd like people to watch?
yes. So I've been doing this show called Open to It. I'm sure you've seen it on my social media. Um,
Mm.
Season 1 is already out. It's on OutTV, Amazon Prime, and Apple TV. Season 2 starts airing on the same Amazon Prime, Apple TV, and OutTV
Mm.
on November 6th. And then
Very soon.
it airs weekly every following Thursday. So there's, I believe, I want to say 7 episodes in season 2. So they start airing November 6th.
Uh,
Um, and then I also just wrapped another Out TV show. This will have been my third one as a series regular called Laid Bare, which I just found out starts airing in January.
oh wow! So that's perfect.
Out TV, which is kind of it's people ask what it is all the time. They're like, "Oh, I haven't heard of it." I'm like, it's basically BET for queer people. So
You can do that.
it's
I will
it's a
put a link
streamer.
as well. There'll be a link in the description. So yeah,
Oh, yay. Okay.
yeah, we'll
Yeah,
do that.
I have 2 shows on there right now. So there's Boy Culture Generation X on Out TV and Open to It on Out TV, and
Yeah.
then Laid Bare will be there in January. But
Okay.
it's a queer streamer. It's also on cable,
Mhm.
so it's on television. Um, and people can check it out starting November 6th.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much. And the very, 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 very final question. What are your personal favourites? Because we talked about projects you starred in. What are ones that I guess are your
Uh,
classics, your favourite shows or films of all time, ones that you always go back to,
that I like watching or that I've been in.
that you like watching, more as a viewer?
Well, my all-time favorite show, I always want to say One Tree Hill because it's what really sucked me into television. Like it's the only show that I own the box sets for, which
That's a good
is
marker.
yeah. So I'm like, I must have really enjoyed that show when I was in middle school
Mm.
and high school, because I
Mm.
bought the, and I believe they were VHSs at the time.
Oh,
Not to
wow.
date myself, but there we are.
Yeah.
Um, so One Tree Hill was like the first show I got sucked into, and then of course anything marketed towards a 14-year-old girl was my jam. So Gossip Girl, Riverdale, all the CW shows, and then of course the Harry Potter movies.
Yeah.
Huge fan. I have a few notes about the direction the writer is taking in her personal life, but that is neither here nor there.
Hmm.
Everyone is entitled to their opinion as long as it
Hmm.
doesn't affect other people's lives. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, yeah. So anything on the CW, One Tree Hill, Gossip Girl, uh, are my go-to watches, and then of course the original Queer as Folk.
UK version? The UK
I did
one?
watch the UK version. I did, but I watched the
You-
American one first because
oh
that's the
no, which
one
one
we
do you
given access
prefer?
to. I prefer the UK version
Yeah.
of most shows. Queer as Folk, Shameless,
Oh god, dear, Shameless.
great
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we do a great um revision for an
Mm.
American audience, but it's never as, I don't want to say crude, but it's never as real as the UK versions. Like the UK versions are as crude as people are, they're as raw as people are. We sanitize it a little bit for an American audience. It's still pretty out there because they're
Mm.
like on Showtime, HBO, so they can get away with a bit more, but
Yeah.
it's never as extreme as the UK versions.
And this is because they're on Channel 4. So Channel 4 in the UK, again, if it had been made for the BBC, it would have been sanitised, but it's Channel 4, and Channel 4's always been able to slightly
Get away
push
with
that
more.
boundary. Yeah. And obviously, Queer. See, yeah, Queer as Folk kind of, I remember when that came out. That's how old I am. And it was such a massive cultural shift, that show, of just what it did. I can just remember people going, finally, 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 finally. This is, yeah.
Yeah, here too. Queer Folk, the L Word, all of those were pioneers of the queer community here.
So, yeah. Awesome. Well, I can't thank you enough for your time. I need to let you go, but I just want to say thank you for being such an amazing interviewee, like so thoughtful
Oh,
and so
thank you for having
insightful,
me.
just joyous to talk to. I really, really appreciate your time. So thank you.
Thank you. I had a blast. You're so great to talk to.